Welcome. My name is Magnus Edholm, and when I'm not sitting in this studio, I run what we call a digital enterprise at Siemens. Today, to discuss the future workforce, I have two very charming colleagues of mine joining me. I got Fairchild and I got Dora Smith. We're going to come back to the introduction of that. Um, in the last couple of years, the topic of the future workforce has been given a lot of airtime, and for good reasons. The difficulties in finding motivated people working, building up a workforce is a global situation. Today, though, we're going to focus more on the Americas market. So we have Anne Fairchild. You are the U.S. Interim CEO of Siemens in the United States. And Dora, you run the workforce transition
Workforce strategy.
strategy. Why don't you give us a short introduction for those of you who don't know you?
Yeah, sure. And Magnus, it's great to be with you and Dora. This is quite an honor to have a conversation on something that is obviously top of mind for all of us globally, but particularly here in the United States. So Anne Fairchild, I've been with Siemens for almost 27 years. This year is my 27th year with the company, primarily in the legal organization. So legal and compliance, was previously the general counsel for our U.S. operations and in executive leadership positions for the last 15 years, and just stepped up as of October 1st as our interim U.S. president and CEO.
Impressed. Thank you very much. And the same question to you, Dora. We go back. We go way back.
Yeah, you should know. You could get my
I
introduction.
could, but I'm going to let you do it though.
So I'm focused on digital workforce transformation. And so when you think about what we do as a business, as a company, right, we're creating technology that is helping companies transform how they design, how they simulate, how they execute, whether that's products, processes, or even entire plants. You need a workforce ready to address that, right? And so I'm leading the future workforce strategy and some strategic initiatives so we really can help make that workforce ready to take that technology and transform their businesses.
Yeah, and I mean it's one thing to develop software and technology, but also you got to develop a workforce. Now, I've been working with data transformation for 26 years, so you're leading on me and on that area. But that in mind, also having AI coming on board, there's a lot of challenges out there. How do you see that the digital transformation, the introduction of industrial AI, and so on and so forth, affecting the role of the workforce and the development of the same, Anne?
Yeah, I mean, it's massive, right? It's difficult to overstate the impact and the transformation that all of this has. And we're so grateful to have resources and experts like Dora that are leading this for Siemens. But when we talk about technology, our technology is only as strong as the people behind it. Right. And when you talk about digital enterprise and you talk about AI and automation, it's not about workforce. It's certainly about workforce disruption, but it's not about job elimination. It's really about job displacement, and helping us in what role that we have in Siemens is to really help to elevate the workforce, not only within our own company, but for our communities, for our customers, for our partners globally and in the United States, to help them meet the transformation needs and to help them help to educate the workforce on what it means to be able to adopt AI and to move more into jobs that previously may have been underserved. And over the last few years, we've seen, over the last several decades in the United States, we've seen certainly a decline in the number of jobs in manufacturing and electrician jobs. But the demand for that is only increasing.
Right.
And when we talk about the implementation of AI in almost every sector where we are, the demands will increase exponentially over the next decade. I mean, experts anticipate that we will need an additional 80,000 electricians each year.
80,000.
80,000 per year. And in the next 5 to 8 years, probably nearly 4 million additional manufacturing experts will be needed in our U.S. workforce. And Siemens, I mean, we're going to do our part to help educate, and we've made a commitment. We just announced, actually, last month, our commitment to train an additional 200,000 plus, maybe it's even more, but so far we're at about 200,000 that we anticipate we'll be able to train in the workforce beyond Siemens. This is for all of U.S. workforce, to train an additional 200,000 electricians and manufacturing experts.
That is really, really nice. I mean, that makes me very happy to hear.
We're excited about it. I mean, we have to do our part, right? I mean, we see this and it's interesting as we talk about this with our customers, with our partners. I mean, we partner with over 100 different educational institutions, trade associations, technical colleges. We have a fantastic network that we're leaning on. And when we talk about this commitment, it resonates, right? This is not a political issue. This is an issue that everybody, no matter where you look, everyone appreciates this, and they see the need. The need will be significantly larger, and we're going to do our part to help close that gap.
Excellent. Dora, I mean, surely you want to add something to this.
Well, I really appreciate what Ann had to say, and the commitment is so timely right now, because one of the things we see, there's different studies out there, but one is from McKinsey, and it really showed close to 90% of executives see it as a barrier to digitally transform because of the skill and labor shortage. So we've got to do our part in really trying to address that. And there's a number of things to really look at. It's the scope has changed in workforce development, really from both the scope of how we're addressing that from really young ages into senior workers, as well as the form, like how we teach and how people learn. There's an interesting thing at Siemens called the Innovation Trend Radar. And we look across both Siemens' perspective, but also our customers and partners. What do we need to look at to really help innovate and drive innovation? And then how do we address that in learning initiatives? And so that's really driving a little bit what we'll talk about with micro-credentials, but also some innovative strategies around community-based learning, which is a big part of how we're learning AI. So yes, digital transformation.
You know what? When I'm reading up on this page, all those information that I have had in the beginning, and me being Swedish and everything, there are a lot of words here like micro-credentials. What does it mean?
Do you want to provide any perspective first, Ann, or you want me to?
I think you're the expert, and it would be so interesting. We've talked about this for the last, year, but what you've done is really transformational in this space. So I think it would be helpful for you to give an overview.
Yeah, so micro-credentials can come in a number of different forms. Like you likely have degrees, right? Those are macro-credentials, multi-year credentials. Micro-credentials are shorter in form. Some can be as short as a course or a series of courses. And it gives us an opportunity to really address very precise, specific strategic skill sets that are needed in a more agile learning setting.
Can I ask you something there?
Yeah.
How do you define the skill sets? We heard about the electricians. Are we working on that field also to find out what we need?
Across the board, right? So we spent the last 2 years working with our customers and our partners, asking them about the skill sets they need, what do they see coming in the future, and getting that feedback to drive, again, both the content, topics we want to cover, as well as the form of how we're going to create a little more immersive learning environment, digital learning environment.
Okay, so getting in more so people got hands-on, you kind of understand. Yeah. I mean, I've been an application engineer for many years, and I know the technology that we have been working with is inspirational. It is amazing, and you can be blown away. And I also find it fantastic that you push that out there because there's so much to learn. So much to learn.
You want me to give you a couple examples?
I really do. Can you do that?
So there are two I'd highlight. One is one we did in partnership with the University of Colorado Boulder around circular economy. So we really wanted to look at sustainability and how do we help the workforce really be ready to address sustainability holistically. And so this has many courses that really help get that sustainable mindset, help them address it from a supply chain readiness, financial understanding. And so this is one we're really proud of, in part because it has a unique aspect that can really drive for credit. Many micro-credentials are out there, and you can take them, on the side, but where we can integrate them in the curriculum or provide them for credit, that allows credit towards an engineering management degree. The second one is a Siemens specific one called Expedite Skills for Industry. And this one I really love because we have really rich onboarding programs, but they take a long time. They could be many months. And we looked at what we were doing in our Genesis program and others and said, what can we do to really seed that sooner? And so we covered the basics of electronic design, automation, product lifecycle management, industry foundations and context, and also future emerging technologies like AI. And so we're really given that baseline for that digital mindset and skill set that leads to a micro-credential that then is recognized by employers and recruiters like in our company, but also in our customer and partner base. So those are two I'm particularly proud of.
You said a Genesis program. For those of you out here listening to us, what is included? I kind of know what it is, but I think you should expand it because I find it really good.
Yeah, Genesis is a program where we hire in young talent and bring them in and put them through an immersive program where they learn all about design and manufacturing, the whole process, the context. Some of the Genesis graduates then go on to our experience centers, and they can really then help customers understand the full context of it. And then they're eventually going on and working with our customers. So it's a really rich program, and we took snippets of that and really put it into this online space that's available to anybody in the world now on Coursera.
Yeah, and the Experience Center that Dora mentioned, I believe you are referring the MXD in Chicago.
There's many around the world, yes.
And we have a few also in Europe with that. Anne, what makes Siemens so special?
That's a very broad question, Magnus. Thank you for that. What makes Siemens special? We were talking about this. It's been a big topic of conversation, particularly over the last few weeks and months, as Siemens is really coming out as a forefront leader in industrial AI. But Siemens is interesting. I mean, we're a company that we're nearly 177 years old. We've been in the United States for over 160 years. So you wouldn't think of a company that has that kind of deep legacy experience, really, with its, the origins of Siemens in industrial hardware space as a tech leader. And yet here we are. And it's fascinating to see the transformation. I've been here maybe just a year longer than you, but we won't do ages. We won't talk about that. But when you think about just the time that I've been here, how much the company has changed, but particularly in the last decade, and even so in the last 5 years alone, as we've really started to accelerate everything that we're doing, particularly in software, with our EDA software. We've made major acquisitions in the last few years. I mean, over $100 billion in the United States in the last 20 years, but we doubled down on our AI and software investments in the last year alone, over 15 billion. Those numbers are huge. And so what makes Siemens special and unique, we could talk for hours about that. We don't have that kind of time, but we are truly a tech leader. And people, particularly young people coming into the workforce, look at us as a company that's been around for a long time and is going to be here for another 177 years, but not a company that's stale or outdated, right? They don't think of us in the way that maybe we might have thought 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Exactly. I mean, also you talk about software. I mean, also in the field of automation, there's so many things happening. We've got the software-defined automation, which is required to develop software-defined products, like you have this iPad, you have your car, everything. And we are in that race. We have the IT-OT convergence, that the vertical information flow of data. I mean, there's a very large palette of things that we are offering. And also, Dora, how do you see this? I mean, what Anne said just makes perfect sense to me.
Well, we do have special
socks.
Special Siemens socks that makes us very special.
Makes us special.
But I'd like to look at it from what really makes us unique in this space. And so one of the things that makes us unique is we sought after looking at what can we drive innovation, quality, and recognition around these micro-credentials to do something really different. And so ABET, if you're not familiar with it.
I am not familiar with that at all.
So they're one of the global leaders really in engineering programs, engineering education, and industry programs. And they previously only looked at those macro credentials to do accreditation. And they went down a path of looking at recognizing credentials and partnered with us so that Siemens received in this last year the first ABET-recognized industry credential. Right? So it gives us that stamp of quality, that stamp of trust that what we've created is of value. And so we received that ABET recognition on both the UC Boulder circular economy as well as the Expedite. And this has really changed the discussion with academia. They're now inviting us in to do workshops because they understand the ABET quality and we can drive more curricular change. But more interesting lately, it's brought us into customer engagements. And so customers are saying, hey, that Genesis thing and what you guys are doing with that in this Expedite Skills for Industry, we want to integrate that in our learning and development programs. That would really help transform our workforce. And that's what where we're headed next, is really addressing micro-credentials for our customers to transform their workforce. So we do really think with Siemens and with ABET, right, those two powerful brands, we're really going to be able to drive some transformation with micro-credentials.
Yeah, and so this ABET, and you mentioned Boulder, University in Colorado. other universities also kind of tagging along we're working with?
There are, I cannot name them yet, Magnus.
Oh.
Shh. Yeah. But you will hear about a number that we're doing some partnerships for my credentials that will be coming out this year.
Okay. I did not know, honestly, that Siemens was so involved and in so many places and so many areas. What are the next steps? What's going to happen? What can we expect from your strategy that you're to develop, Dora?
Well, and anything you want to first share a little bit about what you guys are driving with this new commitment that I think.
Sure. I think high level, when you look across the United States, right, this commitment to train an additional 200,000, that partnership leaning on all of these different trades, colleges, technical trade associations. I mean, this is a huge move for us, and it's contagious, right? And I think it really helps to drive the national conversation of where we need to go in terms of workforce development. Siemens always, I mean, we're lifelong learners as a company. That's something that and I think all of us, I mean, we are where we are because we've adopted so much of the mantra within Siemens to continue to learn, and pushing that out into the ecosystem that we touch across the United States. There's so much more that we can do. I think that 200,000, again, let's see if we get, but I mean, I feel optimistic that it may be even a larger number, because so many of our partners and all of our, when you talk about, the customers that are out there looking for this skilled workforce development, they're the companies that the next generation of workforce really wants to work for, right? I mean, they see so much of industrial AI. How do they learn it? How do they adopt it? How do they accelerate their own learning to become attractive in the marketplace? The micro-credentialing is a part of that. And the customers that we work with, like AWS, Google, NVIDIA, they're all of our partners. Those are the companies that people want to go work for. And so I do think that we step into a really unique space, and we're well positioned because of our learning ecosystem inside Siemens to take that out on a much larger scale.
Fantastic. I mean, we have industrial AI. I have had a few talks over this week about industrial AI. What would you, Dora, think is the biggest thing that industrial AI or AI in general will bring to young talent, new talent? How can they utilize it? What would be your suggestion to?
There's a couple things from the AI perspective. One is really looking at how you learn, right? I think in the future, you're going to see AI. That's because, Magnus, do you know how many digital learning hours you need to do this year as a Siemens employee?
36.
Good answer. But to really provide that environment for you that is personalized. So it knows what Magnus knows, right? And it can provide the Netflix approach, if you will, of suggesting the right content that you need next to pursue. And so we think that AI has really the power to do that. But also, our technology has so much great AI now embedded in it, right? Looking across a digital thread and across the tool set that an engineer might interact with, we're really trying to help engineers and students learn more what is right in the tools that will help them. That some of the things they may not need to know in the future because it's going to be embedded in the way the tool presents to them. And so we really want to start exposing people to that in the context of industry digital threads, so they really understand it in context of an industry problem and a solution.
Absolutely. And any thoughts on that from your perspective?
You know, it's so exciting. I think when you think about even our existing workforce, right, making so much of these learnings available for people at all levels, making it accessible so that it is this lifelong learning journey. And I think being able to translate that for people just entering the workforce, that it's not about that stagnant degree that you may or may not have, may or may not need, right? It's all about education evolving. And I think Siemens plays a major part. What Dora and her colleagues have been able to do inside Siemens, being able to share that with our larger partner ecosystem, I think is just a tremendous opportunity, not just for Siemens, right, but for the communities in which we operate and live.
Absolutely. Thank you for your thoughts. It's been really interesting to hear. So we are still ahead of time. We've got a lot of time to cover if we want to. But
can I add one more thing?
Absolutely.
You know, I just want to emphasize that I think this is really about Siemens' leadership role now in driving industrial workforce transformation. I think this is an opportunity for us to really make a huge impact at Siemens, at our customers, and in society, as you've heard Anne's commitment. And one of the things I like to emphasize is micro credentials, right? It's really about cred, like giving that credibility to a learner, credibility to an employer that they're hiring, and they can see that specific skill set that they need. And so I think, you know, we know at Siemens that it's not just about technology, it's about the people that drive that technology. And I think we are really now giving people the power to own that. So yeah, I'd consider that kind of giving people a chance for a superpower that they can create with their own learning path.
Yeah, and we need a lot of superpowers of from legal where you began. So I mean, there's all walks of life essentially because it is a pretty big company and there's so many areas we're working, and also with the partners. I think that's also extremely important to see, being able to collaborate, talk to people, and interact. So perhaps with micro credential and being able to discuss technology, which is something I like to do, and obviously to two of you also. And any parting thoughts or words to the audience out there?
You know, it's such an exciting time, and we'll look back at this moment, right? We've talked for, many years now about AI. Siemens has been in the AI space since the 1960s, right? But I mean, where we are now with industrial AI, this is a turning point for the world, right? And I think it's just a thrilling opportunity for Siemens to be able to participate in the learning economy, to be able to help educate the workforce of the future. And I'm very excited about it. I mean, for those of us who have children entering the workforce in the next couple of years, everyone knows there's a lot of fear out there, unfortunately, and we need to overcome that and let people know that there's many ways that people can start to adopt more learning. And the micro learnings is just a fantastic opportunity for people to take these bite-sized credentials, right, and be able to stack them over time and to, evolve on a lifelong journey of learning to stay on top of, and if not ahead of, where we're headed with industrial AI.
It is really good, really inspiring, and thank you very much for that. Do you want to add anything more?
Just what micro credential are you going to pursue next, Magnus? So you can set a lighthouse example.
Okay. You know what? I have an answer to that. So I am in marketing and communication. I do a lot of writing and etc. And I'm using AI, or trying to become a user, not using AI to write a speech to my friend who's turning 50, actually to be able to do the prompting. And I have a strategy that I've been training on. We have a Siemens training network where you can go in and you get your classes assigned. And I've been using that, and it's called CRIT, Content, Role, Interview, Task. And that is mind-blowing. I kid you not.
Wow.
When I the first time saw Grand Canyon, I was like, wow. The first time I came across this CRIT thing, I was like, wow, it's kind of the same thing. So that's what I'm doing. And because I want to be part of the gig going forward.
And you also created a podcast.
Yes.
As in preparation for a recent event that we were attending, you mentioned that you used AI to help develop a podcast, which I love listening as a way of learning, right? And so being able to create podcasts on demand with content that you develop or not, right? But that whatever you need to be able to develop and launch it, I think it's fantastic.
It is. And also I do a lot of reading, also old literature, because I think there's things to take with you from that side. So I try to do it also. I'm not at the 36 hours just yet, though. But then again, we are on the 7th day of the new year, so
you have time.
I have some.
I'll send you some recommendations.
You know what? That would be appreciated, Dora, very much so. So with that, I would like to thank Anne Fairchild, Dora Smith for joining me in the studio. It's been very nice to have you both here. Very inspiring, and I think the future looks bright. To be honest. A lot of jobs being created, and the micro-credentials and the collaboration with universities across the US and, of course, also in other countries will definitely be of value for most industries, most companies out there. So with that, I say thank you to you both.
Thank you,
Pleasure
Magnus.
having you.
Thank you, Magnus.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Ann.